In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to take an external tool from another website or from within Schoology and embed it into a page or link it to a course. Let's begin by talking about what we mean by that. If I go into Edpuzzle, which is a resource that I know is approved and I know does not violate the acceptable use policy, I have created an assignment that I would like to have my students use, but I want to embed it in my Schoology course to make it easier for them to use and for easier them to access. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Edpuzzle account, and by the way, if you're not sure how to do this with external tools, check with your ITTS and they can help you with this. But in this case, I've got an assignment that I've created in Edpuzzle and I'd like to share it. So I'm going to click on Share Assignment. You'll notice I have two options. I have an embed code and I also have a link. I'm going to show you how to use both of these. So let's say I want to embed this and I want to embed this in a large frame within Schoology. I've highlighted the entire code and I've hit Control-C to copy that code. I can also do it by right-clicking and clicking on Copy. Now the good news is you don't need to know HTML to do this activity. That's what the code is for. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my course now. And I'm going to go to Add Materials and I'm going to add a page. I'm going to call this Commonly Confused Words. And I'm going to put the code into this window so that it directly accesses that Edpuzzle assignment. Now you'll notice that right now it's set up to be receiving text. I want to come over here to the upper right hand corner and switch to HTML. You'll notice that the toolbar went away and it's just looking for specific code. But as I said before, you don't need to know HTML. I'm just going to hit Control-V and all the code will appear. To make sure I did it correctly, I'm going to switch back to visual and I should get this yellow box. If it's an error or if there's a problem with it, there should be an X demonstrating that it's incorrectly entered, in which case you'll have to cut and paste it again. So I'm going to go ahead and create this resource. And you'll notice it appears at the bottom. What I want to do is I want to move this into one of my folders. I don't want it to be out here like this. So I'm going to go to this gear shift and I'm going to go to Move, and I'm going to move it where it belongs under Dessert Time. And just to make sure that it worked, I'm going to go back to Dessert Time. I'm going to go inside that folder and I'm going to see if I can take a look at this Commonly Confused Words. And there it is. You'll notice that the activity is completely embedded within Schoology. This is the preferred method because it allows students to operate within the same Schoology platform without having to worry about windows and frames opening up and making things more difficult. If the student, however, would prefer, or if you would prefer to have it done this way, it can also be done through a link, through a direct link. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. I'm going to go to Add Materials. I'm going to go to Add File, Link, or External Tool. And if I go back to Edpuzzle, you'll see the top there was a link. So I've clicked on this and made it blue. I've hit Control-C. Of course, as I said before, you can right-click and click on Copy. I'm going to go over here, click on Link, put in a link there just by pasting it in Control-V. And I'm going to call it Commonly Confused Words. I'm going to add that in. And of course, once it's added in, I'm also going to move it to the Dessert Time folder so that it is not standing out by itself. So I'm going to go to Move, Dessert Time, and I've moved it in there. But what I'd like to show you about this is it's a little more cumbersome for the student because when they click on the link, instead of opening within Schoology, it's going to take us out of Schoology and it's going to put us directly into Edpuzzle. So it's an extra step and it moves outside of Schoology's platform, The other thing that might become a problem is the resource might not necessarily be mobile ready. So if the student is accessing this on an iPad or another mobile device like a phone, there may be complications when they move outside of the Schoology platform. So it is strongly recommended that you embed the code as we did before. Sometimes you can use resources that already exist within Schoology. You will have already added the application through the App Center, which is described in another video. So let's say I have a brain pop activity that I want to add to my course. I'm going to click on brain pop. Let's say I want to add an English unit. Okay, and let's say I want to find a grammar unit. And the grammar unit that I'm going to look for is verbs and their objects. So I'm going to click on this resource. Okay. And I'm going to assign it. Now I don't have any active classes here, but if I had classes, it would show me my classes and I'd be able to assign it within BrainPop. The beauty of this is you will notice that whether I'm using BrainPop or I'm using Edpuzzle or I'm using any other resource, it's all within Schoology's resource. And so what that does is that allows me to maintain consistency. It allows me to track what students are doing at different times because they're doing it within the Schoology frame. And more importantly, it prevents technology from getting in the way of your students' learning. In other words, it prevents us from leaving the Schoology platform and things may not necessarily be mobile ready or device appropriate, and that can lead to interruptions of instruction. All right, and so that's how to operate within Schoology to take an external resource and make it available to your students through a learning activity.